The soup hit my head before the words did. Hot, greasy beef broth dripping down my neck, staining my shirt. And the laughter, his laughter, cut sharper than the heat ever could. My brother leaned back in his chair, smirking. "You've got 15 minutes to leave my family." My parents looked at him, then at me, and clapped. A slow, deliberate applause, approval wrapped in humiliation. That was the moment I stopped being their son. I wiped the broth from my eyes, stood, and said nothing. Not yet. Words are useless until they can burn. So I waited, counted my breaths. Then I reached into my jacket, pulled out a thick stack of documents, and slammed them on the table. "Fine," I said quietly. 15 minutes and everything of yours will be gone. You'd think betrayal sneaks in like smoke. It doesn't. It walks in smiling. He was the golden one, always had been. I was the one who worked, who built things in silence, who took care of what he ruined. When our father's companies started failing, I was the one who stayed up nights studying contracts, managing debt, saving it from collapse. He was out drinking, making promises he couldn't spell, much less keep. When the company turned around, it was my work, but his name that went on every document. My father called it family unity. I called it theft. But I stayed quiet, because family, they said, was thicker than resentment. Turns out resentment only needs time and silence to ferment into something sharper. The discovery. It started with a transfer notice from the bank, an internal alert I wasn't supposed to see. Funds were moving from the company account to a consulting firm under my brother's name. When I traced the shell company, I found something better. My father's signature on every authorization. They'd frozen me out quietly, neatly. 3 years of my work funneled away behind my back. And the final blow, a dinner invitation. My mother's birthday party, the first one they'd asked me to attend in years. I should have known. It wasn't an olive branch. It was a stage I didn't break. I didn't scream. I didn't even ask why. Because I already knew. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted me erased. So I smiled, finished the night, and began counting days instead of tears. Within a week, I started moving quietly. See, when I rebuilt the company, I made sure every contract, every asset, every digital key passed through my system once. Every document had a backdoor, every account a trigger. Not because I didn't trust them, because I didn't trust anyone. I hired a silent partner, a legal assassin who knew how to dismantle an empire without leaving fingerprints. We redrafted the holding agreements, restructured ownership chains, and buried assets under new entities. By the time they realized, I already owned what they thought was theirs, legally, cleanly, irrevocably. The night of the party, while they laughed, my lawyer submitted the final set of filings. Company assets transferred, bank accounts frozen, real estate reassigned under a new trust. Mine. Even the house we were standing in was technically already signed over to a corporate entity I controlled. So when I stood up, beef soup dripping onto the marble floor and said 15 minutes, it wasn't a threat. It was a countdown. My brother laughed again, louder this time. "You think anyone cares what you say?" I didn't answer. I just nodded toward his phone. He looked down. Notifications flooded his screen. Account alerts, asset freezes, revoked access. His smile faltered. My father stood, confused. "What did you—" I turned to him. "Everything you built on my work is gone. Every signature you forged, every lie you co-signed. It's over!" He lunged forward, but my lawyer, who had just walked in with a police escort, placed a folder on the table. "Sir, these are official notices. You might want to read them before making any sudden moves." The silence that followed was the most peaceful sound I'd ever heard. My mother whispered, "You did this." I looked at her, the same woman who clapped when her son was humiliated. "No," I said. "You did. You raised a wolf and forgot to teach him who built the den." My brother's face was pale now, hands trembling as he scrolled through his dying empire. "You can't do this. This is our family." I stepped closer, my voice low. "You're right." It was. 15 minutes later, they were outside. Security escorted them through the gate of the house they no longer owned, And I, still smelling faintly of beef broth, watched from the balcony as the gates closed. I didn't celebrate. Revenge doesn't taste like victory. It tastes like silence. But silence, after years of being ignored, is the sweetest sound there is. They'll spend years trying to rebuild, explaining how they lost everything. They'll blame me. Good. Because when my brother poured that bowl of soup over my head, he didn't just humiliate me. He baptized me in fire. And from that night on, I stopped being the forgotten.